Are you looking for some great ideas to add some circles to your next quilting project? We've got some great ideas for you. Welcome to Handi Quilter Watch and Learn. I'm Kim Sandberg and
I'm Kristina Whitney.
And today we're going to take a look at two rulers that help you get circles, half circles, clamshells. There's a lot of different things that we can call these designs, but we've got two great rulers for this, don't we?
Yeah, so let's show our viewers.
So the first one we've got here is called the multi-circles ruler. And this one's kind of fun. We previously had a version of this called the Swiss cheese, which I think is entirely appropriate because it does look like a piece of Swiss cheese.
Yeah, there were actually a couple of different rulers and we just kind of combined them. So they might not be the same size because there was the big Swiss, the regular Swiss, and then there was the long multi-circle. So this is just kind of a combination of those three rulers with the three most popular sizes.
I love it. It's a great ruler. And then we have the classic multi-clamshell, and this is a really great ruler. It gives you 4 different shapes, 4 different sizes. So Kristina, let's take a look at some ideas that we can do using these rulers.
Okay, well let me just talk about the anatomy of the ruler for a moment. So if we look at the multi-circle ruler, you'll notice that the circle you're going to be stitching on the inside, and it's got a slot here. So when we get to this, I'll show you how to get the slot over the needle.
Okay.
But this is the 1.5 inch stitch out, a 1 inch stitch out, and a 3/4 inch stitch out.
Okay.
Now I do want to mention that if you wanted to make smaller circles, you could also add your echo foot to make these smaller.
Perfect.
I'm like, I don't know if an echo foot would even fit in that one, but yeah,
maybe.
I'm kind of lazy. When I'm getting that small, I'm just going to go free motion because I don't care what it looks like. No, just kidding. Okay, so that is the multi-circle.
Okay.
You'll also notice that I have Handi Grip already on this one.
You do.
And here's a package of our Handi Grip. So it is just these strips on the back. You rip off the pieces that you need and it just sticks onto the back of your ruler. And it's like a sandpaper almost. So it helps to hold the ruler in position on the fabric. So I really strongly encourage people, if they're going to be doing circular designs, especially if there's going to be any overstitching, which we'll do in a minute, but having that will be very helpful. Okay, so the next one is our multi-clamshell. Now you'll notice on this one that you're going to be stitching on the outside of the ruler.
Right.
So things to think about with this one is that you don't have a contained space.
Right.
So if you're stitching along, I always say, I like to go out for ice cream. Whee! Oh, my hand went in the way. I'll do the other hand. Whee!
Little sound effect there. I love it. It's true though. You have to really pay attention and keep that the foot snugged up to the edge of the ruler, don't you?
Exactly. Okay, well let's show a couple of designs using these.
Okay.
And we'll also show some of the designs that are on the back of the packaging.
Okay.
So we'll have to remember to do that in a minute.
Okay.
So let me bring this machine over here. The first design that I'm going to do is called a clamshell. It's just a traditional clamshell.
And let me guess, you're going to use the multi-clam for this one.
Yes, I am.
Smart. So smart.
But you wouldn't have to because this is a half a circle.
Right.
So I could take this ruler and I could stitch half a circle.
And the markings are there, which makes it easy to do that.
Yep, so these markings right here, you would line up just right on your line and stitch half a circle. Okay, but I am going to use the multi-clamshell. Again, you have a 1.5 inch, a 2 inch, a 3 inch, and a 4 inch. So you can pick which one fits what you're doing.
Okay.
So for this one, I'm going to use this 2 inch. You'll see that there is a line coming up the top. That's your center line. And then right here, this line is going to be your seam line. And then if you want to offset things, you can use these other markings.
Okay.
So I'm going to line that up right on that seam line there. And I'm going to hug up against the ruler, hugging, hugging, hugging. And then adjust, moving over to the next line. And you'll notice that my clamshell is not the exact same size as my grid. So if I have to adjust just a tiny bit, that's acceptable. Okay, so there's my first row. Doesn't that look beautiful?
It does. It looks great. Classic classic clamshell.
But it's kind of boring. So we want to add to it.
Okay.
So then I'm going to do another row, but we need the row offset.
Right.
So I'm going to travel straight up my seam line. We're pretending that's a seam line. And then now I'm going to, instead of having the ruler set here, I'm going to offset it.
Okay.
And I'm watching this line really carefully here to make sure it's going to match my previous thread stitch there.
So that point will come down and touch the top of the previous clam.
So I did
see that.
half of a half right there. And I am off from my grid just a little bit, but you know, the best thing is that this grid is not going to be going with my quilt. It's going to erase.
Right.
So I'm going to, at this point, focus more on the actual stitching. And then I'm going to do a quarter here. And there's the beginnings of my clamshell.
I love it.
So I could add another row. Should we do one more row just for fun?
Let's do.
Then we can get the full effect.
Yep.
So row number 3, I'm stitching the exact same as how I did row number 1.
It's important too when you're doing this to start from the bottom to work your way up, isn't it? To be able to match everything up the way you want to.
Yeah, I find it's much easier working. Woo, I just shifted a little bit there. I find it much easier to start at the bottom, and then as I'm working up, I can use the markings. Some people like it the other way, so just play with it and see what works for you.
Okay.
And also what works for that particular quilt.
Okay.
Now we use the 2-inch for this particular stitch out, but if we wanted to do bigger ones, we could do the 4-inch or the 3-inch. If we wanted smaller, we could do the 1.5 inch. So it just depends on what you are trying to show in your quilt.
Okay.
Okay, so now let's play with our multi-circle.
Let's do. So the multi-circle.
I'm going to stitch some pearls.
Okay.
So I've already created a straight line here.
And by pearls, you just mean like a chain of circles.
Correct.
That are touching each other.
Yeah. And actually, before I stitch, let's take a look at this quilt behind us.
Okay.
And we'll look up here. I've got some pearls stitched along there.
Look at that.
And you'll notice these are all about the same size. So for the stitch out that we're going to do, we're going to get a little bit wild and crazy.
Okay.
We're going to have some fun with it.
Oh, I'm guessing you're going to be switching sizes here.
Well, we've got 3 sizes. We want to use all 3, right? Okay, which size should I start with?
Why don't you start with the smallest one?
Okay, smallest. So my needle is already down in position here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up that hopping foot and slide that ruler over the needle and pop it into place.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to bump the ruler up against my foot and then check my other line to make sure that the center is lined up with this line that I already drew on there. Okay, so I've got it in position. And we're going to stitch around. Isn't that beautiful?
It's great, except you're back where you started. So how do I add a circle?
So if I don't want to start and stop every single one because that takes way too much time.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to overstitch half a circle. When I get to my line, I'm going to stop there. And then I can slide the ruler out and change to another size.
Okay.
So let's go to the medium. Okay, so same process. I lifted it up, slid it in. I'm going to bump the ruler up against the foot, line up my line on the marked line that I did.
The seam.
Now I'm going to show you a different way. Remember earlier I talked about using Handi Grip so that the ruler doesn't shift?
Yeah.
Sometimes it does shift. So some people find it's easier to back stitch or backtrack over the last half because that one has not shifted as much. So you have options. You can go either way. And then also if you alternate it, the buildup of the thread is going to kind of make a serpentine look. So it doesn't all just clump up on one side.
Right.
Okay, biggest one?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep stitching around. You'll notice I go a little bit slower when I'm doing that overstitching because of the fact that the rulers can shift a little bit. Okay, isn't that fun?
It is. I love that.
So I'm going to be really wild and crazy, and we're going to bump back to that previous ruler.
Okay.
So I'm going to show how you can use the clamshell to make a full circle.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm lining the line up with my stitch line.
Okay.
I'm going to stitch half a circle. Pause the machine, and then I'm going to turn it around upside down.
Oh.
And I'm going to stitch the other half. Now this one I'm definitely going to stitch back over so I don't have to adjust the ruler again. So we added that one. And then we can go back to the...
Now Kristina's on a roll,
on a roll. And you can get going a little bit faster as you get more confident with the rulers.
Right. But at the same time, remember that rulers, it's a little bit of a slower process, but you get the precision, so it's worth it.
Exactly, yep.
It's worth it.
Okay, one other thing that I am noticing that I'm doing right now that is pretty common is that I'm putting a little too much pressure on the ruler because I'm trying not to let it shift. But that is putting pressure on the table, the ruler base here, and not allowing things to move as smoothly. So my fabric is being shifted. So sometimes you'll just have to relax a little bit.
Enjoy the process.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Look at that. Very nice.
Is that fun?
It is, it is. What a fun way to add a really cool design element to your next quilting project.
Yep.
And you know, circles are so fun, especially because to add to a quilting project, so many of classic like block designs are very linear and straight with all straight lines. So adding a little curve to your quilting just adds a little fun element, doesn't it?
It does. And I'll be honest, most of the time my piecing is not perfect and my squares might not be the exact size as one of these circular rulers.
Yeah.
So using those echo feet, that is a great benefit because you can change the size on a circular ruler.
Exactly. You can find the one that fits so that you can get that circle that'll fill in that space perfectly.
Yep.
Well, we want to say thanks for watching. If you'd like to have one of your quilts featured at the end of one of our videos, be sure to tag us at Handi Quilter on social media the next time you post a picture of your quilt. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe, and have fun quilting.